In the spring of 1966, England was preparing to host the biggest sporting event on Earth, the FIFA World Cup. Millions of football fans around the globe were eagerly waiting for the tournament to begin. At the center of all the excitement stood a priceless symbol of football greatness, the Jules Rimet Trophy. This golden trophy represented glory, national pride, and the dreams of every footballing nation. It was scheduled to be displayed publicly in London so fans could witness football's greatest prize up close. But what happened next would shock the entire world. Just months before the World Cup began, the most valuable trophy in football suddenly vanished. What followed was a mystery involving thieves, police investigations, ransom demands, and an unlikely hero. This is the astonishing true story of the greatest World Cup heist in history. To understand the significance of this crime, we first need to understand the trophy itself. The Jules Rimet Trophy was awarded to the winners of the FIFA World Cup from 1930 onward. Named after FIFA president Jules Rimet, it featured the Greek goddess Nike holding a cup above her head. Although small in size, its symbolic value was enormous. For football fans, it represented the pinnacle of sporting achievement. Nations competed for years just for a chance to lift it. By 1966, football had become a global phenomenon, and England was preparing to host one of the most anticipated tournaments in history. The trophy was more than a piece of gold. It was football's most treasured possession. No one imagined that such an important object could ever disappear. As part of the World Cup celebrations, the trophy was placed on display at Westminster Central Hall in London. Thousands of visitors came to admire it. Families, football fans, journalists, and tourists gathered around the glass case that protected the famous prize. Security seemed adequate for the time, but compared to today's standards, it was surprisingly weak. Guards watched over the exhibition, and organizers believed the trophy was safe. After all, who would dare steal the most recognizable prize in world football? Yet somewhere among the crowds, a thief was watching, patiently observing, waiting for the perfect opportunity. The stage was set for one of the most daring crimes in sports history. On March 20th, 1966, the impossible happened. At some point during the day, an unknown thief managed to bypass security and remove the Jules Rimet Trophy from its display case. The operation took only minutes. When officials later checked the exhibition, they were horrified. The glass case was empty. The trophy had vanished without a trace. Panic immediately spread throughout the building. Staff searched every room, every corridor, and every storage area, but the trophy was nowhere to be found. Football's greatest prize had been stolen. Within hours, the shocking news spread across Britain and around the world. The host nation of the upcoming World Cup was facing an international embarrassment. The Metropolitan Police launched a massive investigation. Detectives flooded Westminster Central Hall, searching for clues. Witnesses were interviewed, security staff were questioned. Investigators carefully examined fingerprints and possible escape rates. Yet, despite their efforts, evidence was scarce. No surveillance cameras existed to reveal the thief's identity. No reliable witness had seen the crime take place. It was as if the trophy had simply disappeared into thin air. Newspapers across Britain covered the story daily. The public became upset. Several days later, the case took a dramatic turn. Football officials received a ransom demand. The sender claimed to possess the trophy and demanded money in exchange for its safe return. To prove the claim was genuine, the criminal included a detachable piece from the trophy itself. Suddenly, investigators knew the thief, or someone connected to the thief, was attempting to negotiate. Police devised a plan to catch the culprit. They arranged meetings and monitored communications. The operation quickly became one of the most closely watched investigations in Britain. But even with this new lead, recovering the trophy remained far from guaranteed. Eventually, police arrested a man linked to the ransom demand. Known by the nickname the Pole, he appeared to be connected to the crime. Detectives hoped the arrest would solve the mystery once and for all. However, the situation became even more confusing. The suspect claimed he was not the actual thief. According to his story, he was merely acting as an intermediary for another criminal. Despite intense questioning, investigators could not locate the trophy. The arrest generated headlines, but the central problem remained. Football's most important prize was still missing. The World Cup was approaching rapidly, and time was running out. As days passed, the nation became increasingly fascinated by the mystery. Newspapers printed daily updates. Radio stations discussed theories. Television programs speculated about possible suspects. Some believed organized criminals were responsible. Others suspected an international theft operation. Rumors spread everywhere. Yet despite the intense media attention, the trophy remained missing. For football fans, the situation was almost unimaginable. The symbol of the World Cup had vanished only months before the tournament. The pressure on investigators grew stronger every day. Britain needed a breakthrough, and soon. Then came an extraordinary twist. 11 days after the theft, a man named David Corbett was walking his dog, Pickles, through a quiet neighborhood in South London. It seemed like a completely ordinary evening. Pickles was an ordinary mixed-breed dog with no special training. As they walked past a parked car, the dog suddenly became interested in a package hidden beneath a hedge. Pickles refused to move away. Curious, Corbett decided to investigate. He reached into the bushes and pulled out a bundle wrapped in newspaper. What he discovered inside would soon make headlines around the world. When David Corbett opened the package, he was stunned. Inside was the missing Jules Rimet Trophy. Unable to believe his eyes, he immediately contacted the police. Officers arrived quickly and examined the object. After careful inspection, they confirmed the incredible truth. The trophy was genuine. Football's greatest prize had been recovered. The announcement electrified Britain. After days of uncertainty and fear, the crisis was finally over. Somehow, the trophy had ended up hidden beneath a hedge in a residential neighborhood. The mystery of how it got there remained unsolved, but one thing was certain: the World Cup could now proceed as planned. Almost overnight, Pickles became a national hero. Newspapers featured him on their front pages. Television crews wanted interviews. Photographers followed him everywhere. The public loved the story because it seemed almost unbelievable. While detectives, investigators, and experts struggled to locate the trophy, an ordinary dog had succeeded. Pickles received awards and public recognition. He even attended special events and became one of the most famous animals in British history. His discovery transformed a dark criminal mystery into one of the most heartwarming stories in sports history. Just a few months later, the 1966 FIFA World Cup finally began. England carried the hopes of an entire nation. As the tournament progressed, excitement continued to build. Then came the historic final at Wembley Stadium against West Germany. In one of football's most famous matches, England emerged victorious with a 4-2 win after extra time. Captain Bobby Moore proudly lifted the recovered Jules Rimet Trophy before a cheering crowd. The image became immortal. It remains one of the most iconic moments ever captured in sports history. Even today, many questions remain unanswered. Who truly stole the trophy? Why was it abandoned beneath a hedge? Was there a larger criminal operation behind the crime? Historians continue to debate these mysteries decades later. Yet, regardless of the unanswered questions, the story endures because of its remarkable ending. A priceless treasure disappeared. An entire nation panicked. Detectives searched tirelessly. And in the end, an ordinary dog named Pickles solved the mystery. More than half a century later, the theft of the Jules Rimet Trophy remains one of the greatest and most fascinating stories in the history of football.